It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Earhart. I'm in Charlotte. My co-host, Nate Perkins, is in New Zealand. And let's go to another country. We have two more guests from the country of Finland. We have head coach of disc golf team Finland, Joonas Merelä, and 18-year-old blossoming phenom in the pro scene, Oiva Päivänsalo from Finland. Thank you guys both so much for joining us. I can't wait to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Perkins, I want to toss it to you because I'll let you kick this thing off. We have you guys on the show because we've watched you, Yonas, in particular, post a lot of really interesting content, whether it's coaching content in an individual setting. I know that you're coaching Albert Tam very personally, Heidi Leine, and a lot of the other best players in Europe, but you're also doing these big training camps that we really don't see in the United States. So I'm excited to talk about this. Oiva, you've participated in them. So Nate, kick it off. What do you want to know? This is just such interesting stuff.
Well, I kind of want to give some context first because I feel that when people ask me, what I do for a living, and I tell them I commentate disc golf broadcasts, and then we start talking about where that takes me. It takes me all over the United States, and that it takes me up to Europe, and that every year for the past 6-7 years now, I've been going to Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and their minds are blown, right? It's just like, why there? And I think it's one of the kind of sweet facts about our sport is that it just took off up in Finland and the rest of in Scandinavia. And so when I go over there and I see some of the most talented disc golfers that I've ever seen. I mean, I have seen countless nameless Finns that you've never heard of, be able to throw a disc up to 70 miles per hour, even upwards of 80. It just leaves you scratching your head, like, how did this happen? And of course, we have the stories about how UC convinced the population, convinced the government that disc golf would be a benefit to their population, and the government started subsidizing all these courses. But the question that this doesn't answer, and this one is for you, Jonas, what do you think it is about Finnish culture that has allowed for disc golf to blossom in such a way in your country?
That is really good question, and I think I probably don't have the right answer. But what I can compare, when I started playing 2016, 2017, the disc golf was kind of new. I didn't know before like 2017 what disc golf was, and now if we think nowadays we are in 26, I think most of the people in Finland know what is disc golf. I think many of Finnish people watched the World Championship games during last summer, and I think of course COVID was one big thing here, but of course there's many factors which affect to why disc golf is so popular in Finland. So I think there is just not one answer. So many people behind the sport, and I think our federation has done also a good job to increase the value of disc golf.
I'd love to kind of talk about the federation because that's something that the United States does not have. And I'd love for you to kind of explain what that is and what your role is in the federation. Are you a full-time employee of like the Finnish Disc Golf Federation? What exactly is that?
Yeah, I would say my role now in golf association is I run the camps. What we have for junior team Finland, we have 3 camps per year. This year we're gonna have only 1 camp for like MPO and FPO players, but it will be a little bit longer. Then I have done kind of like coaching, I would say guide, kind of like an instructor course for the Finnish Disc Golf Association together with my colleague Jouni Kallio, and then we have also bring that to the example Estonian and some other. Jouni has been in some other countries to educate disc golf coaches. So that's like, I would say my work for the association usually is in the off season. So I would say like it's probably like 20 to 30% of my yearly work go for the Finnish Disc Golf Association.
And I want to know how you got into disc golf coaching. I watch a lot of your content. I've taken some of your drills, and don't worry, I give you credit every time I use the drills. I want to know where you came from to look at disc golf in such a scientific way, because I really love what you're doing out there.
Yes, so my background is I'm like I come from ice hockey, and I started the university in 2016. I studied orthopedical osteopath, which is mixed by rehab science and like human anatomy and physiology and kind of like sport medicine as well. And then I graduated just like before the COVID started, and then I was thinking like, what should I do? And then I got interested in the disc golf when I was second year of school, and then I think just the disc golf got me, and I had a spot for ice hockey team also, because I was hockey goalie 15 years, and I had a spot in one of the Finnish club for going to work for the ice hockey, kind of like kind of like the goalie coach path, and also like kind of take care of the ice hockey goalies in rehabs and stuff, like prehab stuff also. But then I choose disc golf. I have had been, I would say, 15 years already in ice hockey rinks, ice hockey arenas, and I felt there wasn't any kind of like good, I would say, good coaches or any like scientific stuff. I didn't find anything, so I was like thinking, okay, this could be a really interesting route to also like develop myself as a person, and of course as a professional as well. So then when the COVID started, then I kind of like started my coaching career. First, it was I studied a little bit more physical side after the first degree, and then kind of like when I did the physical coaching, like first few years, then I got really interesting about skill training and skill coaching, and then I went back to the school again because I felt I don't know about shit this stuff, so I needed to go back to the school. So I went to Southeastern Finland University of Applied Science to study sport medicine and coaching, and then the sport medicine and coaching school ended 23, and then I would say after that I really started to do more about skill training and also kind of like looking into the disc golf biomechanics a little bit more deeper side. So that's kind of my background, and I would say in 5 years ago I never would believe I've talked with the JomezPro podcast. So I think this is I have done something probably I have done something right. Of course, we have still a lot of what we don't know in disc golf, and there is I think if I can bring something to the table which help the players and help also to community and other coaches, I think that's like kind of my goal as well, to increase the overall information of disc golf and related to the skill training or injuries or overall training or biomechanics.
Well, this brings me to another question, because we have Oiva on the show as well, 18 years old. He's throwing, I think you said, what is it, 125 kilometers per hour, so like 77 miles per hour. That's elite speed. And Oiva's not the only teenager in Finland doing this kind of stuff. I want to ask, why did you bring Oiva on the show? What do you like about him as a player? And I'd love to kind of have you describe his development, and then we can kind of kick it over to him.
Yeah, I want to bring Oiva to with me here because I think he has gone through some. I think I would say it's not the easiest road, what he have gone through. So I think he has also something to share for. I would say to the junior players, and like he also, this is now our third year together, so he has also got some coaching. So what is he can also like bring to the table experience of what is to get kind of like coached, and what's like to be what is kind of like the sport coaching, what it is, because I think there is a belief still in the internet that many of coaches like do only like look only like the mechanics and how the how the elbow is in the right correction. Of course it's that, but I think sport coaching is little bit bigger thing than just like mechanics. So I think he can bring that side as well, and he can bring also, I would say, like the learning curve as well, because I think in the internet everyone want to get like everything as soon as possible, and this is like the longer term develop as well for Oiva. So I think there is a lot of what he can bring as an example.
Well, Nate, I know that you've done your tours around Finland multiple times. You've worked and talked and taught and played with a lot of these younger juniors Finnish players. I'd love for you to kind of share your experiences, Perkins, and start the conversation off with Oiva.
I absolutely cherish Finland and its people. I've resonated deeply with the dedication that the youth has to the sport. And while the United States is still kind of leading the way in terms of, the talent that we see out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, I feel like Finland is only trailing behind simply because the United States got an earlier start. And we have 330 million people versus 5 million in Finland. But when I go to Finland and I see, there are 100 players that we have never heard of that are 1,000 rated to 1020 rated that can absolutely shape the disc with the best of them, and who have dedicated their entire lives to this game. And I guess, my first question for you, Oiva, is what was it about disc golf that made you choose it over some of the other sports in Finland that you could have gone with?
That's a tough question because I think there are many aspects, but for me, I think it was the COVID summer. I had played football for like 7 years, and when the COVID hit, I didn't feel the motivation to do the things that the coach said to me and all that. So I went to the local course and played disc golf for like the whole summer, and it was amazing. And for me, it wasn't like I was good at it at the first time, and I feel like the thing that motivates me still in this game is that I want to improve my like skills. There's no limit to improving the skills, and I feel like I get the motivation from the bad rounds or and good rounds as well. But I feel like when I play good, I feel like I really want to play like this every time. And when I play bad, then I know that I got something to improve. So yeah.
I have one good, I would say, what would be interesting for most of the US people is that there was a study in 22 to 23 in Finland. They studied the sports, like which sports are most popular ages between 10 to 15 years old, and disc golf was third most popular sport in Finland.
Yeah.
So I think that can give you a little bit of what's kind of like the scheme of disc golf here in Finland.
Well, I want to ask Oiva, with players like Niklas coming over to the States, having lots of success, coming back to Finland for Worlds, almost taking home the World Championship. Do a lot of young Finnish players look to people like Niklas as an inspiration? What is the career aspiration for a pro disc golfer in Finland? How possible is it?
Yeah, I feel like the professional disc golfers in Finland have had a huge impact in the like youth disc golf motivation, or how should you say it? But like there were, at least in the 2020, 2021, 2022, there was like the disc golf was trending a lot, and there came a lot of like little fans that watched Väinö Mäkelä on YouTube, or for me it was Niklas Anttila who I was whose fan I really was. But I think it was really cool to see that Finnish players can be that good in this game, and that has always gave me motivation to play disc golf for like to make it professional on this sport.
I want to toss it back over to Joonas because it feels like there's a lot of young players coming up saying, I think I can do what Niklas is doing. I think I can do what Väinö Mäkelä's done and make a career out of this game. From your perspective as a coach, what are you working most on with these players at these training camps?
I would say like the for the junior players, what I try to bring to the table is like the overall what is to like be like in athlete kind of in overall. So kind of like nail the basic thing first. So what is like the balance between training, doing the competitions, and recovery and nutrition. I like to like think like a kind of like simple way in some ways. So I think like teaching the juniors that they can have a lot of tools when they come to the camps, and when they go home, of course. So I think like the teaching and educational part is really big on in the overall picture, at least for me. And I think when the junior players, it's of course I don't work with every junior player what we have in the camp like really closely, but at least most of the players they get the information, but what probably they never have had before. So I think that's like I would say like the most important thing to me like kind of like the educational side.
I have one last question before I let Perkins jump in. I'm so curious about these camps. Now, when they happen, do players fly into town and they stay there? Is it free? Does the federation or association pay for them all to stay there and train there? Or do the players travel out on their own money and stay for these camps? How long do these last?
Yeah, so I can bring a little bit like so you guys can have a little bit of understanding of what the training camps are. We started these national team training camps 22, and we get the idea with one of my like current really good friend Johan Rydgård, who were at that time Swedish national team coach, and they just built the Swedish national team just before us, and I get connected with him, and then we get the idea that hey, we should like put shirts together and try to find things because we didn't have any information. We didn't have any information of any of our player. So first 2 camps, 22, 23, we had only testing camps. So we test 15 players, so for 16 players from each country, so 8 MPO, 8 FPO, and then we had like 14, 15 different tests. We test like so we wanted to see like what physical aspect correlate to the throwing speed. Then we had some accelerometers there as well. We had putting things and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the beginning of the camps, and then we have developed those training camps after that. Now this is, I would say, probably like 4th or 5th year with the training camps. So now this is our 2nd year with this disc golf team Finland. I was last year in Sweden. I was taking care of the Swedish disc golf national team training camp. At the same time, I was doing same thing for Finns. But for your question, for the junior training camps, the players like kind of like the association or federation, they support. So the junior team camps, they have small fee what they need to pay, but in men's and FPO camps, then the players doesn't need to pay anything. So that's covered by the association. And training camps, they last 3 to 5 days. That's like what we have had.
Perkins, I cut you off right as you were about to ask a question. What were you getting at?
Well, in the United States, everyone is kind of brought up to believe that they should be working to kind of separate themselves and stand out amongst the rest, right? That's just like deeply in our culture is you want to try and be a star. And you go to a country like Finland, and it's essentially the polar opposite culturally. In Finland, there's a something called the tall poppy syndrome, where if someone is kind of standing out amongst the rest, amongst their peers, they almost get ostracized. And I'm curious, obviously that can have some big ramifications to the psyche of an athlete, right? Because as an athlete, when you find success, you are separating yourself from your peers and from the rest. And so, I feel like I've witnessed that impact a lot of players from that region as they are kind of finding success at the elite level. I've almost feel like it's the final barrier between a lot of Finns in particular and Pro Tour wins, major wins, world titles. And I'm curious for both of you guys. I'll start with Jonas. What kind of work are you doing to help your players overcome these psychological barriers that are kind of deeply rooted in your culture?
Yeah, I would say like psychological side. I have kind of like the other coaches who take care of the psychological side. So, but I think it's a hard question, and I would say here we try to I think see the things in many perspective, and I feel like we have kind of like, of course, the Finnish people. Some of the Finnish people are really kind of like, I would say, shy, but it is hard to answer. I would say in like what makes us makes us like different.
Yeah, it's a really difficult answer, right? I mean, it's within our culture, right? It goes down many generations. And so I'll ask you, Oiva, how have you overcome kind of those moments when you find yourself in the spotlight? And do you feel like your training in these camps has helped you push those barriers?
I do feel like we train pretty well to prepare for the competition moments, but it obviously isn't the same in the training versus the real scenario. And I think you need to be there to experience it, and then you're gonna learn it. But I think this is really individual, and maybe I at least I haven't thought of it as a cultural thing, and I think I just try to perform as good as I can, and I'm trying to delete all the aspects that are gonna like make my performance worse. So that's just basically how I'm thinking this thing.
Jonas, I want to kick it back to you. As a coach, I've watched you come up with some really interesting theories about coaching, and maybe you don't even call them theories anymore. Maybe you call them science, but you mentioned something that really intrigued me. You said something along the lines of 80% of the power you get from a backhand comes from torso rotation. Was that somewhat accurate? Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah. So we copied kind of like the 2024 summer we did research with my colleague, and he's a doctor of biomechanics. So we kind of like copied the baseball study what they did 2006, but we with a little bit of different mix, but the setup was kind of like same. So it's not just from the disc golf. This topic has been studied also in baseball as well. And in the baseball example, there is evidence that about 55% of ball velocity comes only from the arm, so shoulder, elbow, wrist, and then legs. There is no like straight. At least the studies what I have read, there is no straight evidence that example in like the pelvis rotation would affect would be really big factor in ball velocity. So we did the research. We had 24 or 25 players in our study, and the players threw with the knee position, and then with the run up, and then we compare the differences, and the players reach the overall, like when we put the data together. So overall, the players reach 83% in knee position compared to the full run up, and forehand 87% of kneeing compared to the run up. So then I have got like a lot of comment that, hey, if you're in kneeing position, then you're using your leg still, then many of people, they doesn't understand anatomy or like the biomechanics, so they don't understand that the trunk muscles kind of like they are responsibility for pelvis rotation as well. So legs at this case, like femur and tibia, they don't rotate pelvis. So that's is what the trunk does. So it is interesting topic. Still, legs are important. Still, if you want to throw fast, I think you can benefit using the ground reaction forces and run up, and of course take little bit of force kind of like out of the arm. So it's not that that what I'm saying, that the legs and brace are not important, but when you see the high level players, when they throw in the sitting position in the box, or when they throw in kneeing and they throw close by 70 miles per hour, then you realize that probably it's not how fast I rotate my pelvis. So I think then when you see it, someone do it, then you probably can realize that okay, maybe it's not how fast I can fire my hips.
Well, so this is what's fascinating to me and I'm excited to have you on the show because I've been working a lot with a tech disc. My goal is to get back to 70 miles an hour consistently, which I believe is like 112 kilometers per hour, something along the lines of that. And I was doing some knee work today because I was going to have you on the show. I knew that you did a lot of stuff, players throwing from their knees. I was blown away. I did a full set throwing from my knees, just focusing on rotation, and I threw only a couple miles per hour slower than when I was throwing from a standstill, and then maybe a few miles an hour slower than when I was throwing from a run up. I'm still working on a lot of things, but it really makes you question what you were doing before because my legs now, I know I have to work on them. I want to ask you now, when it comes to footwork, what is the most important thing that you have players focus on to actually make them worth using?
Okay, so now we go to the really basic of understanding the basic principles. So when you throw standstill example, there is no high force, like high force what you need to use with the ground. When you take fast run up, when the players moving fast, then we have change of direction movement. So we need to stop the linear motion, then turn it to the rotational angular momentum or angular velocity. So there comes like how kind of like strong your legs are. So the strength, like the maximum strength is definitely one key element. Then reactive strength, so it means how fast you can turn the eccentric force to the concentric force. So I have seen a lot of players who just doesn't have ability to brace with high run up. So then usually kind of like it can decrease the example the trunk rotational and trunk rotation and upper arm velocities. If the forces get too high and you cannot handle the forces, if you don't have ability to handle the forces, then it's I would say it's a limiting capacity if I'm looking skill perspective as well. So that is how I see the situation, and of course there if someone want to read about change of direction, kind of like what aspects are important if you want to be good at change of direction, then go to the PubMed or British Journal of Medicine site and write that and start learning. So there's a lot of information about that.
This is one of my favorite things to do in lessons when we're doing just throwing metrics, because a lot of times, especially with younger players, and I'd love to ask Oiva about your form progression over the years, getting to the speed that you've gotten to. A lot of times, young kids that I've worked with run up so fast and they want to just blast the disc as far as they can. And so they're running up the tee pad. It's so interesting having something like a tech disc or a game proof or something that tracks the metrics, because I'm able to then show them you walking up the tee pad is nearly the same, if not better, than you running up the tee pad a lot of the times if you don't have good timing. And like it sounds like you're saying, Jonas, leg strength in general and being able to actually hit the brakes with a forceful run up is crucial. Is that correct in saying?
Yeah, we were in the laboratory with a few players, and we have done also ground reaction forces, and some of our players can produce with the kind of like regular tee pad run up. They can produce about what is in pounds? I don't know, but 270 to the 300 kilos force against the ground. And those guys who can produce force, they are, of course, it's related to your body weight. So, of course, there is some strength needs, but also, example, Oiva can produce almost 2.5 times forces compared to body weight. He's not yet like, I would say, experienced athlete who has done strength training like 10 years. So I think Oiva has done now 4 years about strength training. So kind of like intermediate, but there is a lot of forces going on if you take like James Conrad run up example. So this, whenever you take more kind of like run up speed, then ever the the ability to stop the linear motion comes more crucial, and then of course the strength will help, like that, just like general strength, and of course like the especially like the eccentric side, kind of like we call that the braking impulse.
Oiva, I want to talk to you. It sounds like you've been strength training, and this is for disc golf for about 4 years now. Talk to us about your training, your form progression. Uh, how have you trained your technique? Is it filming yourself? Is it just trying to mirror another player? What has worked for you over the years?
I think it has been like constant trying to get better. So I film myself a lot, and any once in a while I check the technique and try to think if there's something I can get better on, and then I might focus on that the next training sessions. And I don't think I have made any big progressions in like once, but like having analyzed it many years in a row, I have like slowly become a better thrower of the disc. And of course, I think the gym and the strength training has definitely helped with the form improvement, so I can resist the powers more than before.
I was talking to Paul Kranz from Massachusetts. I'm sure you've seen him at this point throw. And he told me that when he filmed himself throwing, he only cared about how stylish he looked when he threw. He only cared about the aesthetics of it. Do you care about style, or are there very specific things that you try to accomplish? Like, do you try to look like other throwers out there, or are you just kind of mechanically working through the technique side of things?
Well, that's hard to say. I don't think I have any one player that comes to mind, but uh, maybe in the start it was more like watching other players and trying to mimic them. But uh, after getting to uh, after having after Jonas having teach me how to throw, then it's more like individual, and I don't. Maybe I have looked at Kuoksa, Saukkoriipi, maybe Anthony Barella, and who I know who have a good form, and maybe try to understand some aspects of the form, but maybe I think it has been more like looking just at my form and trying to make it better.
Jonas, I want to ask. He mentioned three guys that I'm pretty blown away by every time that I watch them throw: Saukkoriipi, Kuoksa, and Anthony. From what you've noticed over time, there's this elite group of power throwers, the guys that are throwing. I don't know if it's 130 kilometers per hour. I know it's 80 plus is kind of like for miles per hour. What do those guys do better than everybody else to get that level of power, that level of efficiency in their throw?
Probably they have good genetics. That's probably one thing. Genetics always matter some, like little bit, but of course it's hard to say, like, because I think we have not like the over 80 miles throwers. I would say probably like 10, 15, something like that. It's not like there is like a lot of players who throw 80. So I think it's just like the small group of people, and I still think we are figuring out, like the science is figuring out why they throw fast, and I think I don't have the right answer probably to give, but what I think what makes them good is that they can produce, example backhand, they can produce a lot of force in short time with large range of motions. So, example, we had done some measurements here in Finland with the accelerometers, and some mock-up studies has done also here in Finland, and it's really like there can be players who form looks similar, but the other player just can accelerate, example, 30 milliseconds, 40 milliseconds faster, and it is mechanical laws, kind of like the guy who can accelerate faster, if they have same range of motions, the guy who can accelerate faster, he will throw faster. So it's of course it's like explosive strength, kind of like explosive strength is I would say the most important thing, and that's how you can get there. There can be many routes to be explosive.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things that I've learned over time is that speed is number one when it comes to distance. You can always find a disc that will compensate for your lack of spin. I know nose angle matters a lot too. I think it was you that posted this. Speed, there's a lot of biomechanics we can talk about in regards to improving that. Spin is the other metric that's more of a function of shot shaping that's fascinating to me. What have you learned about generation of spin over your years as a coach? Is it still as big of a mystery as it feels to me?
Yeah, I would say it is a big mystery. So I think now when I have worked with the tech disc guys, and then I have worked with a few engineers to like understanding the disc flight a little bit. So the spin just make the disc fly more stable. It can change a little bit of how the disc fly, of course, depend on the disc and the other aspects, but it can make the disc go just like a little bit further. So we would talk probably like 5 meters maximum or something like that. So it's not like the spin is the kind of what makes the disc fly fast or fly further. So I think it is a mystery, but still, like of course it's important that how the stable you can get the disc fly, and that can also affect you where the disc go.
Perkins, I got one last question for Jonas because I've been wanting to pick his brain for a while. I did an episode of my show Catch with Albert Tam, who I know you've worked very closely with.
Yeah.
And he mentioned to me that you have helped him improve his forehand speed by 10 kilometers per hour or so, which is pretty big. It's hard to gain that speed on your forehand. And it's from this arm swing that I've seen you show to a lot of players at this point.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that point? What made you think that that was going to be the golden ticket to adding speed?
I think it's not the golden ticket. Golden ticket. It is just like understanding the throwing a little bit more deeper, and it would be same thing if you doesn't use the range of motion here. It would be same thing that you will throw the disc with the, you don't like extend your elbow to when you do the reach back or loading phase, whatever you want to call it. So it just like shortening the, if you throw, like the hand is like side view example, if the humerus angle now I have like kind of like the 45-degree angle, and if I can bring the arm high, and if I can get the arm to the same kind of like same link together with the trunk, you can increase the range of motion and probably buy a little bit more time to produce force. But there is also risks which can benefit to use more range of motion in forehand, and that's like one really big thing what usually I try to bring to the players as well, that you need to like, example Albert, it was pretty easy to teach because he had the background of throwing forehands almost 10 years, so he arm has already adapted to the load of forehand and high external rotation, range of motions in high velocities. So there wasn't like, it was kind of like easy to process, but it can be dangerous as well. And if you are new to the disc golf, when you try to start throwing with the high reach back, and you can get the arm hurt pretty fast if you are not smart.
Perkins, I know you're a forehand guy. I know you're a big time forehand guy for a long time. Do you have any questions about the flick? Anything about that with Joonas?
Yeah, the first kind of thing that comes up is, concerning the grip, and there's two schools of thought here. And when you hear Scott Stokely kind of talk about facing the palm kind of forward like this versus having the palm flat. For me, I've always let the rim come off the side of my finger, and so when I release, my palm is flat right there. But then you have Stokely, who has the pads of his fingers on the rim, and so he's kind of facing forward. What kind of school of thought do you land on?
I think I'm school of everything. I don't have a all, like, I try to be like kind of in that there is no one right answer. You can have kind of like similar ideas, but I would say, like, when I started to play disc golf, people teach me to throw forehand like palm, kind of like palm up, and now if I'm thinking that's nonsense to me, because you need to have your wrist, the radius and ulna, they need to be stable. They need to be stable when you accelerate the wrist, and with the wrist you just do the dorsiflexion and then kind of like the palmar flexion, and then the pronation. Yeah, pronation comes after the release point. So I think the wrist, I'm kind of like, if you want to have like the grip, if it's like kind of like side of your fingers or with the palm, the player pick what they feel most beneficial for them, and then they go for it. And then it's not my job to say that your grip is wrong if they feel that they can get not wobble to the disc and release. Like, because example, Heidi, if I compare like Heidi compared to the Oiva example, Heidi's FPO player, she have like probably like 10 centimeters shorter fingers than Oiva, so there can be difference also to they cannot like use the same grip.
I want to talk about forehand versus backhand. Sorry, go ahead, Perks.
Oh, no. Well, I keep referring back to this kind of the psychological aspect of it, because I love what you are, you're pushing really the limits of this biomechanical understanding of the disc golf throw. And I've always harped on, I really feel like the disc golf throw is one of the more elegant athletic movements that I've ever seen across all sports. And so I really, value the limits of what you guys are understanding. And I'm curious though, if it was Finland versus the United States in like speed and distance, I think the battle is close, but there's this interesting thing that happens is we're not just playing for speed and distance, right? We're playing golf, and I'm curious how much you focus on the mental side of golf and how you each individual is different, right? There's some individuals that golf is really intuitive to them, right? In the moment, in a round, they can determine, they can make really quick risk reward calculations and, avoid risk as much as possible. And there are so many champions in the, you look back in the last 25 years in the Hall of Fame, Pro Tour, Major, National Tour champions. There's some convergence biomechanically, but there is also a lot of divergence, right? But the one thing that does converge is the mental aspect of it. All of those Hall of Fame disc golfers were golfers at their core, and were able to intuit at a high level the game itself. And so I'm curious how you're able to differentiate between this like fully analytical side of it, of the biomechanics, and then, this intuitive aspect of actually playing golf and trying to teach a young kid about risk reward and, do you run this putt now in round one versus, the final round? How do you teach someone how to navigate this difficult game of golf?
Yeah, I think how I, of course, every time if I need to look on kind of like the psychological side, I really try to think like what the game of disc golf is. So we have the physical side, which is like the speed or strength, and then we have the psychological side, and then we have the skill, and then we have the tactical side, and that's like the four aspects of what makes the like game of the disc golf. And now we have covered a little bit of speed, and for me as a coach, of course, like the biomechanics of speed are one thing, but I kind of try to see the picture, like what is like if we're now talking individual coaching, like I kind of try to have a bigger picture of what the individual needs are. And for the question of like risk reward, I think I try to be in the competitions with the players and see how how they handle their emotions, how their kind of like the shot shape or shot selection with the different, like how they trust their skills, how they manage the overall load of the week, and like how they do their warm-ups, how they like act in the course, and around the tournament area, and then away from the tournament. So it's not that like I think I have made it really clear to the players that my job is not to teach you which disc you select on disc hole. That is like what I want the player to have the responsibility, and they can learn kind of like to make also mistakes, and then we can like talk each other, and see like, okay, what you could do next time. And it's not like uh, I try to say to Oiva like, okay, Oiva, next summer in the Ale Open you have this hole and this hole, and you don't take the risk here. So that's like kind of like my coaching philosophy of like teaching the game of golf. So let the players like learn with the mistakes, but also we try to, the psychological side we try to cover of basic things, and example like like we have a lot of in trainings also what we do in psychological side. So it's kind of like the support them in the many aspects or many factors, I would say.
You talked about load and talked about the strain that players go through on tournament weeks or whether they're trying to train to get ready for the season. What do you recommend as a coach in regards to their throw count for a specific training session, practice rounds, stuff like that? How much are you recommending that they train, and how much do you recommend that they throw?
It really depends on the season, and it really depends on the previous load what they have had. So this is just a raw example of. So we have a season schedule. We have a schedule of when you will have the tournaments, when you will have the training weeks, and when you will have the example kind of like the deload weeks. And then we have like tests for every week that I follow the players' recovery metrics. So we use data to also make the decisions during the season. If the players doesn't like stay in the window that I want to they stay, example throwing speed or something like that, then I pull the brakes and say, okay, you rest now. So that is pretty simple. Then when we collect the data like over the years, then we can know, okay, of course it matters how the players feel, but if their nervous system is not recovered, why the hell I should put them out and throw and be more fatigued?
I have one last question for you. Zooming out, and I'd love to hear both of your opinions on this, and you too, Perks, I guess. International disc golf is exploding. I've talked about this all year. Going to China and witnessing the World Games and the popularity there was just mind blowing to me. And it got me feeling really optimistic for the future of disc golf. From your perspective as a coach, watching the talent explode in Finland, and for Oiva and Perkins, what are your thoughts, and what are you witnessing on the international level? How big really is disc golf getting?
Oiva can go first.
I think there are great facilities for this game in the Europe, and I think there are not so the limits are not so close at the moment, and I think we can go a lot bigger in Europe, and I think we have a really good like opportunities to make this a career and grow the sport. But of course, it's gonna have to be together with the USA, and we have to do cooperation with each other to make the sports bigger.
I agree. What do you think, Perks?
Every time I go to Europe, I really feel like Europe's actually leading the charge in presenting disc golf and showcasing really professional disc golf in the most professional way, really. Worlds and the European Disc Golf Festival this past year were two of the best events, hands down. I don't think anyone can really argue that in terms of how many people were watching and the manner in which the live spectators were able to integrate with the event and just be immersed in this incredible experience. The Disc Golf Pro Tour, while it does live in the United States, I really feel like this next kind of viral, leap that we are about to experience is going to happen in Europe first. They just dropped the schedule for 2026 European Tour. Oiva, what did you think about that schedule? I'm looking at your PDGA page right now. I don't see any events coming up in the spring. What events are you planning to play? And what was your take on which events you'll have access to?
I think I'll play all the Elite Series tournaments in the Europe, and the Euro Tour didn't seem quite fitting to me at the moment because there's like many competitions in a row, and I don't think it is a good idea to play so many tournaments in a row. So I'll have to skip maybe most of them, but I have planned a trip to the USA, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna go. But um, in the spring, there aren't any competitions in the Europe, so I think that would be a good time to go to the US. But I think the summer is looking pretty good in the Europe.
And now, Jonas, I just want to know, kind of ask you the same question. What have you seen since you got into sport? And on an international level, are you starting to notice more countries in Europe following kind of what you and Sweden have done with these national teams and these camps, stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. I would say I have been. Which countries I have been? I have been Estonia, Sweden, and then I have done something to the Czech and Germany as well. So I would say five countries has been interest. Then I have shared some things to the 1, 2, 3 more countries. So I would say I have talked with eight countries, federations overall. I kind of like share a little bit of how is to run the camps and stuff. So there is definitely interest, but I think the reason is that it's not easy to build national team, and it's not easy to build the camps because the costs are, if you want to do it good, first you need the right person to run it or right persons to run it, and we don't have a lot of coaches yet in disc golf, um, even here in Europe, just like who do it full time. I think I'm only in Europe who do this full time. This is my 4th year as a full time coach in disc golf, and now if you ask me how the heck I have done it, I don't I don't know either that how I'm in this position, but it is. I have seen a lot of interest in overall like the training camps and the developing side, and I think the Finnish association also have got questions about the camps, and of course we have tried to help other countries, but there is also limit of how much we can do, and how much we can use time to help the other countries as well, because it's not like I have individual players to coach, and that's like my main job to do. So it's kind of like need to cross, kind of like put the line somewhere, but definitely there is interest, and definitely I have seen a lot of growth uh, after we have done the national team camps.
Well, you're kind of firing me up, Jonas. I feel like someone's got to take the torch in the United States and start a training camp, and take the national team more seriously. We can't have you guys getting too good. I can't have the Finns being unbelievably the best players in the world. It can't happen. But
yeah, do you want to know what was me and the Swedish national team coach? What was our main goal for making these camps?
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, beat the USA. That was our slogan.
I'm ready. I am ready. We're gonna figure something out. This is my drop in the suggestion box. Somebody with a sports science background, get it popping. We'll try to make it happen. Hey, I want to give you guys one last chance to say anything that you wanted to say for the fans listening to you back home.
Yeah, thank everyone. Everyone, I can say, I could say I could say thank you for a lot of people, but of course the players who I coach, they are really big. We are really close with most of the guys, and of course the association. I want to thank you to have the opportunity to work with the association, and then all of the people who has bought my training programs and I've got the good feedback. So a lot of people I could thanks, but mostly the players and of course my fiancée at home, that she can handle this mess over the years.
Oiva, anything you got to say to the fans back home?
Thank you all the Finnish disc golfers. I think we have a great disc golf culture in the Finland, and I think we can get it growing. And of course, thank you, Joonas, for coaching me so well. And I think that is the future of disc golf, that there are personal coaches. And thank you for Discmania for believing me. And thank you you guys. I think this was a honor to be here, and I really appreciate that we got to tell our perspective of this game from the Finland side of the world.
Well, to both of you, thank you so much for joining us and enlightening our U.S. listeners on what you guys get to do over there in Finland. And Oiva, if you do make it over to the United States and you just happen to trip and fall and end up in Charlotte, North Carolina, let me know and I'll show you around.
Cool. Sounds cool.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you around.
Thank you.
Thanks.